Hey, today we're focusing on keeping your technicians happy at work. The old school technology in a lot of shops is like, hey, we really don't need a lift. Our guys have the ability to get under there without one. And you can see that, our technician is on the ground, on their back, and they're focused on the one thing that they're doing, and only the one thing that they're doing. As opposed to when we have the vehicle up in the air, we can find problems before they become problems. Okay, so we're going to go through the setup of a set of ST1085 FRA mobile columns from Stertil-Koni. First thing that we're going to do is place our mobile column at each one of our lifting points. We do that by just like a standard pallet jack. It lifts it. You've got your neutral position in the middle, and you've got your set where it goes down and creates a safe lifting platform. So what we do is we adjust the forks on this. We've already gone through and done that, but you can lift on the front edge of the fork here. You use the release tab here to move them back and forth across. One of the things that you always want to make sure is that this is inside one of the locking points on that, so that when we apply weight to the mobile column, we don't have a shift in that, because we all know if we get something shifting around, it makes us uncomfortable. So we take this, we place it underneath the wheel. We want to make sure that we have at least, on big wide tires, we want to have at least 3/4 of the tire. On a tire setup like this, we'll go in so that the whole tire is covered. A lot of times you'll have decorative rims on trucks, not on this great service truck, but sometimes you'll have a rim that you want to protect. You can come off that just a little bit so that we're not hitting that rim. The next thing that we do once we have them kind of in the place that we want them, we go ahead and we set those down on the ground. And we turn them on the side here. We'll go over to the next column. We'll make sure that it also is sitting flat. Turn it on. And we're going to do that at all of our lifting points. Checking it, turning it on. So we'll start the initiation process of setting up a group of columns. We tap each column that we're going to use. You'll hear a single audible beep as the column is being selected with our unique identifier. We'll go back to the first column that we had in our group, and we're going to identify it one more time. This time we're going to hear 2 audible beeps. What that is doing is that is closing this loop and creating a network of columns that are going to work together. We can link up to 32 columns in a group and use that. In some applications, one of our customers uses 8 columns to lift because they have car transporter set up. It takes an extended period of time to actually separate the tractor from the trailer, so they lift tractor and trailer all as one unit. So what's happening now is they're going around and they're syncing. One of the really neat things about our mobile columns is that they always, when we create a procedure or we're creating a function, it asks us questions. And right now this is asking me if I'm intending on using 4 columns. We're also going to see that the indicator on here is green. When we have a green indicator, it means that we are using a safe, the columns in the design feel that this is a safe operation. So now we're going to hit the check mark. We've now identified the fact that we do have 4 columns that we're using in our group. The FRA series is one of the newer columns from Stertil-Koni. It has their brand new operating system in it. This is called an earth lift. This particular group of columns has the ability to actually regenerate power to the onboard batteries in the lowering cycle of the lifts. So right now we're at ground 0. It tells us our height is 0 and it gives us a 0 on how much weight that we're holding. So what we've done is we've identified these columns, we've got them set up. So let's go ahead and start lifting this vehicle. So we have the up button, we have an unlock button, and we have a down button and our check mark that we've already talked about. So let's go ahead and go up. Coming up. So we're gonna raise this to a height of about 12 inches off the ground. So we're about 12 inches off the ground. That clicking noise that we're hearing as the lifts start to come up are the mechanical locks. So as it goes past that lock, it kind of clicks back down into place. So we're gonna walk around and we're gonna look at how the tires are being held by the lift. Make sure we like how much tire we have on there, where they're sitting. We're looking, because the way in the design of these columns is to make sure that if we do have a rupture in the tire, that as that tire collapses, we want to make sure that the rim will be engaged in this system. And this looks great here. We're going to go to all 4 columns. All right, so we're looking good. Stertil-Koni recommends that we do one more of these checks at 24 inches. So let's go ahead and go up to there. Okay, so we're at that 24 inches on our monitoring. This allows us a better visual on this because we're not having to look down. It's kind of right in front of us. So we definitely have a clear view of what's going on. One of the questions that we get asked a lot typically when we're doing training like this is, do we always have to use this column to control all of the lifts? And the answer to that is no. Let's take a look at this one right now though. We're gonna notice that all of the buttons on this column on the control panel right now are illuminated. They're all colored, and that means that this is the control column. So what we need to do to switch from this being the control column to another one in the group being the control column is to go to that column that we want to become our operational column, and we need to use a function button. It's okay to use the up, it's okay to use down. I personally prefer the unlock button to change it because of the fact that I'm not initiating any operation in the lift. I feel it's safer that way, and that's a personal thing. You'll have your own procedures, what you feel comfortable with, what you don't. So what we'll do is we'll actually push that button and hold it, and we hear that audible click. That audible click is all of the other columns in our group are now recognizing that a new column is controlling the operations. As we can see in this column now is all lit up. Let's walk back and look at the other column that we were using before, and we're going to notice now that the only one of the buttons on this that is lit is the one that indicates that all 4 columns, that number of columns that we have. The ability to go into single mode or pair mode is no longer available from this column. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll switch back like we did before. We hear that click, and we know now that this column has now been the one that's identified. Let's go ahead and go up. Again, we hear that clicking noise that's going on. That is as the lift, you can see the lock, you can see the mechanical portion of the safety systems now as it comes out of the top of the column. But those clicks are activating. Now we're noticing that there are clicks are at kind of different intervals. That means that one portion of the floor in the building is a little bit lower than the other, so they're not hitting at the exact same point. Doesn't matter. We're still gonna, it's still good. So I'm not the tallest guy in our shop, but right now we're at 60 inches, and for me, that'll give me enough room to walk underneath it. Now, one of the things that we want to do, and one of the things that I like about this column, because it has a weight gauge on every one of the columns, is when we lower this down, we're going to go down, and what we're going to do now is put them on the mechanical locks. Okay, so now what we're going to do before we actually walk underneath the vehicle is we're going to look and see how much weight is registered on this column. This column right now is telling me that it's got zero, the weight is 0. The reason that that's telling me that it's 0 is because it's sitting on the mechanical lock. So the lifting system is no longer holding the weight of the vehicle. So what we've done is basically created 4 jack stands is what we're confirming. Now we have confirmation that all of these, the lifting system is no longer holding the weight. We have created 4 support stands, and now it's safe for us to operate on the vehicle. I'm not going to tell you how to run your shop, but if I was the shop foreman in here, I would love that particular option that comes on the FRA version of our mobile columns, because that allows me to know that my mechanic or technician, excuse me, is using safe procedures. They're making sure that the mechanical locks are engaged. Stertil-Koni has 3 lifting safety systems. There's an electronic, there is a mechanical, and there's a hydraulic. Stertil-Koni inverts their cylinders. They use Domax steel because it's the safest. Domax will flex and return and flex and return. It'll go back to its regular configuration. Now we're safe to go underneath here and look what's going on. Okay, earlier we saw our technician underneath the vehicle on a rolling creeper. Our technician went underneath the vehicle, went to the spot that they were scheduled to make a repair on, but typically I'm going to tell you that if your technician's on a creeper rolling around on the ground underneath a vehicle, they're not looking for other problems. As we see now, our technician has completed the repair that she was doing, and now we have the ability to look for problems before they become problems. Look for things that may have been overlooked. Look for stuff that looks like it's loose. You can check, the drivetrain. You can look at various different things that are underneath there. Wires, cables, these things, brake lines. These things are all visible to our technician. It is so much easier for them to find problems before they become problems. Stertil-Koni has an ROI, which will allow you, based on what you charge per hour for an operation. Typically, we're finding with our, our customers or our, clients, we find that typically using mobile columns reduces the time that it takes to make a repair by over 30%. But by being able to go underneath here, identify a problem, now we can go to the customer and say, hey, look, we have performed an inspection on your vehicle, and our technician's advising you that this brake line needs to be replaced. It's starting to seep or leak. You've got a loose U-joint. You've got problems that appear in one of the, part of the drivetrain. Something's leaking, and they're advising that you make that repair now. Now we make that repair, we've got that identified, we're saving the customer money because of the fact that they don't have a vehicle broken down on the side of the road. They can fix it, make the repair now, and keep their technicians out in the field longer, happier, safer. Okay, so we've been underneath our vehicle, we fixed the problem that we had, we've identified other issues to advise the customer on so that they don't have a breakdown on the side of the road. Now it's time to put the vehicle back on the ground. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go up slightly and apply the weight back to the lifts. So we come up, going up. We're going to hit the unlock button, and the reason that we do the unlock button is because of the fact that if one of them's holding it at a different point on the lock, it could cause it to cease lowering in that cycle. So we're going to go ahead and come down. So now that we're off the mechanical locks, it's safe to come back down. We're coming back down. Now, I took my hand off the lock. Once we have passed the first set of locks on the columns, it will now lower without. But if we come off during that cycle, you heard that click again? That means that the mechanical locks have re-engaged. So what we want to do now is we're going to do that again. We're going to come up slightly. Going to hit that unlock button. We hear them all unlock. Start our lowering mechanism. We count to about 3, 1, 2, 3. go ahead and come off, and we're going to go ahead and set this vehicle back down on the ground. Okay, now we've got our vehicle down and off the lift. It's safe to go ahead and shut everything down. We'll go ahead and give ourselves a couple more pumps on our pallet jack to move them out of the way. Boom. Now we can move all the other ones and we can put the vehicle back in service. Hey, this is Bobby with Rocky Mountain Lifts. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed today's video, like and subscribe.